It's time to silence all the haters. Let's show everyone how good the Shining Sarcophagus deck is in the Duelist Cup. Hello folks, I'm the Ghost with Knife and welcome back to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. As you saw in the intro today, we are taking Shining Sarcophagus, what is rapidly becoming my favorite deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Into the Duelist Cup. I've been to the Duelist Cup before and I've kind of strayed from it since. It's a bit too sweaty for me. I just really don't like seeing the same deck over and over and over again, which is just kind of the name of the Duelist Cup. You take the best deck to get the best results. But I decided to enter it this time with the Shining Sarcophagus deck to showcase just how good this deck actually is. And we have quite a few games for you today, so let's just get right into those. Alright, here we are with game one. We are not going first, which is a bit rough for the Shining Sarcophagus deck, but maybe we can pull out a win anyways. My opponent is going to play Stand-Up Center Ion, which is a bit rough for me, but I do have an Nibiru to try and stop all their summoning nonsense. They're going to go Primarina, Trudea. They're going to use Trudea's effect. Nice Royal Trudea, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Centurion art. I think it's a bit weird. It's like weird, like mech-based stuff, I'm not quite sure, but they're going to go ahead and summon the Auxilia here. They're going to add a Centurion card. They're going to go ahead and add the Gargoyle back to their hand. Sorry, I don't really know Centurion that well. I don't see it personally that much. But I do kind of know what the deck does. It puts monsters into the spell and trap zone and tries to do some silly nonsense with that. And of course they play around Nibiru, because why wouldn't they? We have kind of a banger of a hand here. We're going to use Turn Silence to bait out an Ash, which is exactly what our opponent goes for, which is perfect. Because I just need them to Ash that to waste the Ash, so I can go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus. I'm going to go ahead and use the Gadget Trio. They are going to go for Max C. I don't have any play around this. I'm just going to try and out their board as best as I can. I'm going to go ahead and grab a Turn Silence from this position. They're going to go ahead and try to special summon all their cards to do their ridiculous synchro plays, because, you know, playing on your own turn, that's just not what Yu-Gi-Oh! Does nowadays. You have to play on both people's turn in order to have a good deck now. I'm kidding. This deck does not do that, but I still think it's pretty darn good. So our opponent is going to go ahead and synchro into the Crimson Dragon. For our XD, they're going to go ahead and synchro into the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, which I believe has a negate. But it's okay, because I already have Turn Silence. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Shining Sarcophagus. They're going to try to use Cosmic Blazer. I'm going to go ahead and use Turn Silence. They're going to go ahead and try to... Okay, they banished my gadget. I lost track of what was happening, sorry. Phalanx is going to banish my Gadget Trio. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus to go ahead and get my Gandora, and my opponent just sees the writing on the wall. They're about to lose all their monsters, and they know it, and they decide to resign. Alright, our next game here in the Duelist Cup, we are going first, which is pretty nice. We got a pretty killer hand here. We can go ahead and use Gadget Trio to go ahead and bait Nash. So we're going to go ahead and imperm the Gadget Trio. In response, we're going to go ahead and just activate Turn Silence. Or Future Silence, my mistake. Future Silence is going to grab us more Marshmallow. I don't know why I grabbed that instead of another Gadget Trio, but I went ahead and grabbed more Marshmallow here. I think because I had the Sarcophagus, I just didn't care because I was going to go ahead and grab the Ties Defined, but they're going to go ahead and Max C. Now, one thing that I like about the Shining Sarcophagus deck is that typically it doesn't care about Max C, but in this particular position, for some reason, I was really concerned with giving them one extra card, which Ties the Bind only gives them one card, and then you end your turn from that point. So, in this kind of weird predicament, I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus here to grab a Turn Silence instead of the Ties the Bind, which might have been a mistake. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and set the Imperm and the Turn Silence and pass the turn on over. We're going to go ahead and special summon a more Marshmallow on their turn. We cannot negate this Synapse Mining, so they're going to go ahead and go into their monster. Looks like they ditched a Called by the Grave, which is a pretty decent ditch here, but they're going to go ahead and grab Gazelle. We are playing the Salaman Grace. Been a minute since I've seen these guys. Nowadays, you see a fire deck and everyone wants to play frickin' Snake Eyes. So they're going to go ahead and activate their Balinks. I'm going to go ahead and Turn Silence the Gazelle And I'm really considering trying to negate this Banelinks, because I'm not sure how good the Sanctuary is in the matchup. I know Sanctuary is pretty good, but I know there's some various choke points you have to really stop with Salamangreats. I go ahead and let the Sanctuary go. I don't really know if this is a mistake in hindsight, but we're going to find out. They're going to go ahead and use the Banelinks and the Spinny. Go ahead and link summon into SP Little Knight, which does allow them to banish one of our cards. I'm going to go ahead and Infinite Impermanence this. I don't need to do this. Like, honestly, looking back on this, I don't know why I did this, because literally more Marshmallow is just going to summon another one as soon as they banish this. But I did bait out an Imperm, or a cross-out Designator. They're going to go ahead and cross out my Imperm. And from this position, they get rid of a... Oh, because it has to be destroyed. Right, that's why I tried to Imperm this. I'm going to go ahead and use Turn Silence to end the battle phase. Try to buy myself some time here. From here, I'm going to go ahead and activate these Shining Sarcophagus. We're going to go ahead and grab a Ties That Bind. I'm going to try to go for game here. I'm going to go ahead and try and Snatch Steal their Little Knight just to get that out of the way. And they're going to go ahead and use the Little Knight to banish both Advent and Little Knight until the end of the turn. We're going to use Ties That Bind to go ahead and grab a Silent Swordsman and a Silent Magician 0. What I should have probably done in this position is first use Ties That Bind, so that way I have a negation protection, and I maybe could have gone for game in this position. Again, hindsight is always 20/20 with these kind of games. I don't think I would have had enough damage. Maybe I would have had enough damage actually with Archfiend, now that I think about it. So maybe I should have played Ties That Bind there in the beginning. Go ahead and leave a comment if you think that would have been the much better play. They're going to go ahead and activate the Gazelle. They're going to try to activate Spinny. I'm going to go ahead and call by the Grave that because I have it in hand for a negate. And I'm just going to hope that this is enough to stop my opponent. They do have a Sanctuary in hand, though. That might be able to get them out of this nonsense. But yeah, I do think that I just really missed game, and I'm kind of embarrassed by the fact that I just missed game here. And from here, my opponent is going to summon the most obnoxious fire monster in the game. The stupid Promethean Princess that's going to bring itself back and pop my cards. God, I hate this card so much. They're going to go ahead and bring back the Gazelle. They're going to use the Sanctuary here. And from here, my opponent is going to summon the Raging Phoenix, which is the new Salamangreat boss monster. They're going to run over my Silent Magician. And from there, they're going to use the Salamangreat Sanctuary's effect to get another Raging Phoenix. And they're going to pop my entire board. Except for Sarcophagus, I believe. Actually, no, they're going to go ahead and add a card. And then, when I destroy this card, they're going to go ahead and special summon it and then pop my entire board from there. My bad, my bad. They don't do that. What happens is they Salamangreat Rage and destroy my entire board. From there, I'm like, okay, I have to do something here, so I'll go ahead and try to summon Stronghold. Hopefully this does something. I'm going to go ahead and Lightning Vortex, because I don't really know what to do from this position. I'm kind of panicking because they just pop my entire board with one trap, because, you know, that's really fair. But it doesn't matter. They summon their Phoenix, and then from this position, I see that they can just bring back their Promethean Princess. They can bring back their Phoenix. This game is pretty much over. Yeah, it was actually a pretty embarrassing loss, especially because I see that I feel like I could have gone for game. I don't know what else I could have done other than that, though. It was a pretty crushing defeat, but hopefully we can get them next time. Alright, so after a pretty miserable defeat, I'm going first here, and I've got a weird hand. I'm going to go ahead and use the Gadget Trio to try to grab a Shining Sarc. They're going to go ahead and Max C. I have learned from my past mistakes, though. I do not care about giving you one card. They're just going to basically replace Max C. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Shining Sarcophagus. We're going to use the Shining Sarcophagus to go ahead and grab the Ties That Bind. And then from this position, I'm going to go ahead and get a the Silent Magician 0 and the Silent Swordsman 0. They're going to draw one card off of it. I do get a level up off of the Silent Magician 0 from here, which is pretty nice. And I'm pretty comfortable with this hand. I've got a Search Negate, a Spell Negate, and a Targeted Negate, plus some protection with more Marshmallow and a Biru if things just go really wrong. My opponent is going to try to Bashuda. They are on Sword Soul. Another deck that it's been a little bit of a minute since I've seen. But go ahead, pop off. They're going to use Monk of the Tenyi. They're going to try and bounce my Silent Magician 0. I'm just going to negate this with Silent Swordsman 0 and gain a level up off of it, because I just don't want to deal with that nonsense. My opponent is going to triple attack. I'm going to Ash Blossom the hell out of this. I was considering using Silent Magician 0 instead of Ash Blossom, because Ash hits searchers, but Magician hits spells, and I know that they have a way of getting into a bigger worm monster off of the Monk of the Tenyi that might be problematic. So I'm holding on to the Magician's spell negate in this situation, but I do go ahead and use the draw negate. None of that triple tactics nonsense. They are going to go ahead and go into Long Yawn, which does suck in this position. There's not much I can do. They're going to go ahead and use the Ashuna to put back Vishuda. And then from here, they're going to go ahead and try and grab a Sword Soul monster from the deck, and I'm going to use my spell negate here, just because I kind of have to. Thankfully, it looks like they're going to be trying to go into either Baron or some other nonsense. They are going to be going into the Qixing Longyuan, the other monster that I'm not too nervous about. They are going to do some burn damage when I activate my Sark, which is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and Nibiru the board. Because I'm like, look, I don't want you to have that nonsense. They're going to put a monster in defense mode and end the turn, but little does my opponent know, they have walked right into my trap. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus here to try to grab a monster from the deck, but they're going to Ash Blossom me here. Yikes. Okay. So my trap isn't going to work just yet. My opponent is going to go ahead and go. On their turn, though, I'm going to go ahead and get the other More Marshmallow, which allows me to set up the More Marshmallow loop, essentially. They're going to try to Vishuda here. And they're going to use Ashuna's effect to special summon another Tenyi, which is another Vishuda. They're going to use the Vishuda to link off into a Monk of the Tenyi. And guess what, bucko? I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. They try to target More Marshmallow. We Silent Swordsman 0 that nonsense. No thank you. My opponent might be getting a little frustrated here because they can't really deal with More Marshmallow, even with their big Nibiru token. They're going to go ahead and go into the Shaman of the Tenyi. I personally feel like this is just a really, really big mistake because you have no way to draw into anything with this. But they are going to go ahead and destroy the More Marshmallow with the Shaman of the Tenyi's effect, because whenever a non-effect monster like a Primal Being token attacks, they can go ahead and destroy one of my cards. But that just activates More Marshmallow. Makes them take 1,000, brings out the other one. They go ahead and rage attack into More Marshmallow because, you know, of course they do. I would too in this situation, but from here, my opponent's out of gas. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus. I'm going to go ahead and seal their fate by searching the Archfiend's Advent. You know how everyone said this card was bad? It turns out having a normal summonable Summon Skull with a Change of Heart's pretty darn good, because now I have an 8,000 attack Primal Being token. Nibiru attacks another Shaman, and I use the Nibiru token to go for game. That's just the kind of silly nonsense you can do with this deck. Alright, after a pretty commanding game against Sword Soul, let's go ahead and get into our next game here. Hands banger, I basically got 3 negates. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus. It's going to go unanswered by my opponent. I'm going to go ahead and grab Ties to Bind. I'm going to normal summon the Silent Swordsman 0, so I can use Ties to Bind to grab More Marshmallow and a Silent Magician 0. From here, I've got a Targeting negate, a Spell negate, and a Search negate. My opponent draws a card, and they go to Standby, which levels up both of my 0 monsters. They're going to go ahead and activate Dragon Shrine. I don't know what they're up to, so I'm going to go ahead and let this through, and they're going to go ahead and pitch a Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm. Weird, but okay. Since they control the monsters, they're going to go ahead and special summon the Supreme King Dragon again. I'm going to go ahead and use the Ash Blossom to stop their search, because I just don't want this nonsense going through. Hoping to stop them as much as I can here. They're going to normal summon the Performapal Skullcrobat Joker, which allows them to add a Supreme King Gate Magician to their hand. They're going to go ahead and try to search off of the Supreme King Gate Magician, but it is in the Pendulum Zone, and technically it is a spell. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Silent Magician 0 to go ahead and negate this nonsense. And I'm not going to lie, my opponent's going to use the Spiral Flame Strike to grab an Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. They're going to go ahead and set up their Pendulum Scales with both Supreme King Gate 0 and the Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. And I was looking at this game, and I was heavily considering leaving at this point. Pendulum decks are one of the most frustrating decks for me to play because I just don't really know how to play around them. I wasn't around for the archetype, and the archetype is not popular because it's super confusing. And I was heavily considering leaving this game, just being like, get a new one, don't deal with this nonsense. But I decided to stick around. I need practice against these kind of pendulum decks anyways, and maybe I can outgrind the endless amount of summons that pendulum decks can do. So for this position, my opponent's going to go ahead and use the Supreme King Dragon, the Skullcrabat, to link summon Beyond the Pendulum, the perfect pendulum card. They're going to go ahead and use this to grab a Supreme King Gate Magician again. They're going to use their pendulum monsters to pendulum summon the Dark Worm, the Skullcrabat Joker, and the Supreme King Gate Magician to grab a Supreme Rage. This card is important now, but might be important later. My opponent is going to link off the Skullcrabat Joker and the Beyond the Pendulum to exceed the Pendulum. It's weird that this one doesn't have an animation, but the other one does. They're going to go and add the Skullcrabat Joker back to their hand. And to go and use the Exceed the Pendulum to bring back their Supreme King Gate Magician, and then discover that they can only attack into more Marshmallow. And it's at this point that I'm feeling pretty confident, because my opponent doesn't really seem like they can out my board. And I can use Shining Sarcophagus to grab another Gandora, or just grab one if I didn't have one in hand. Gandora can pretty much clean this board up, so there's not many cards I'm afraid of my opponent summoning from this position. I draw an Imperm, which is pretty sweet. I'm going to go ahead and level up these Silent Swordsman Zeros. They're going to use the Soul of the Supreme Celestial King, ditching their Silent King Gate Magician to fusion summon a monster. Okay, what are we doing? 4 cards. I don't know what this could be. I'm not familiar with this. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. This thing can't be destroyed by my card effects, which outs Gandora, and I can't target it with card effects, which outs Archfiend's Advent, which are my 2 best ways to remove monsters. So either I have to somehow negate this with Imperm on my turn, and then Gandora, or I have to somehow run over this thing, which I'm not too confident in my abilities to do, but it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and let them do their nonsense. They're going to go ahead and destroy all of my cards. I can't out that, but I can use more Marshmallow to grab me another more Marshmallow. For some reason, they don't take 1,000. I'm not quite sure why they don't, but whatever. Who cares? I'm going to go ahead and use the Exceed the Pendulum's effect here. In response to me trying to special summon Gandora, they're going to go ahead and bring out the Supreme King Dragon again, the Dark Worm. And then from here, they're going to go ahead and activate their Supreme Rage. I'm not sure what this card does, but okay. If they summon Ziyark, or if they control Ziyark, which they do, destroy as many monsters you control as possible, except Ziyark, and special summon 4 Supreme King Dragon monsters with different names from your hand, deck, extra deck, and or graveyard? Can't be that big of a deal, right? I don't know what these cards do. The Pendulum deck, they can't be that scary. Okay. Oh. That's a lot of numbers. Okay. So Battle Phase, Quick Effect. That doesn't do anything right now. No Quick Effects, doesn't do anything right now. Wasn't Synchro Summoned, doesn't do anything right now. And, no Quick Effects. Oh wait, no, during the Battle Phase, another Quick Effect. This would be scary. It's a lot of damage. But I have the Ultimate Dragon. Gandora G, the Dragon of Destruction. They're going to go ahead and get another one of the Gate Zeros. I'm going to go ahead and just use my Gandora. They're going to banish the trap to put material onto their XYZ monster. I'm not quite sure why, because I'm just going to blow up everything. Get it all out of here. We're going to go ahead and summon the Archfiend's Advent. And from here, I'm thinking, okay. Excuse me. I'm a bit sick right now, sorry. From here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Turn Silence after summoning the Archfiend's Advent. Sorry if there was a bit of a cut there. I might have cut out a cough. Now, I did summon the Archfiend's Advent, and I know that I can't target it with Zark, but the idea here is that afterwards, I might be able to run it over, because now that I see that Gandora G has 4100 attack, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I don't have to imperm this. Maybe I can just run over it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Turn Silence, and the idea behind this is that if they activate a monster effect, I can negate it after our normal summon the Silent Magician 0, make it bigger, and then on their battle phase, I can use it from the graveyard to stop their battle phase, and hopefully have enough damage to just run over all their monsters and clean up this game. We're going to go ahead and grab the Turn Silence, we're going to normal summon the Silent Magician 0, set both of my cards, and pass the turn. Now, Gandora isn't big enough to run over Z-Arc, and I wish I would have summoned it in attack mode, because last turn I could have run it over, but hey, hindsight's 20/20. They're going to go ahead and use the Pendulum Evolution. I'm going to go ahead and use Silent Magician 0 to negate that nonsense. I do not want that. They're going to go ahead and activate the Skull Acrobat Joker and the Pendulum Supreme Gate 0, which kind of sucks, but they do Pendulum Summon their Supreme King Gate Magician, which is a monster effect I can negate with Turn Silence, which means now things are going very, very well for me, because they're going to go to battle. I'm going to go ahead and negate it just like I needed to, and then they're going to end the turn. We have a 4000 attack Silent Magician 0, a 4400 attack Gandora. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus to grab another Turn Silence just in case I need it. We're going to use Gandora, run over Z-Arc, run over their other monster, and go in for 4000 damage with Silent Magician 0. Now I have 2 monster effect negates and a spell negate. It's going to be very hard for my opponent to out this. They're going to go ahead and try to special summon their card. I'm going to go and use Turn Silence. I don't know what they can do with that special summon, so I'm just going to go ahead and use Turn Silence. It's the safest thing I can do anyways, because now I can negate the battle phase. They're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon one more time. I'm going to go ahead and summon from the Pendulum deck the Supreme King Gate Magician, and that's a pretty card with an animation. But I don't care, because I can still run over it. I'm going to go ahead and negate the Silent King Gate Magician one more time, and my opponent sees the writing on the wall and scoops it on up. And that is how you beat an Odd Eyes deck with Shining Sarcophagus. I almost called it Silent Sarc. Next game. Alright, getting into our next game here, we are going second, which kinda sucks, but it will be fine, because our opponent is going to pass the turn? Weird, but okay, maybe they're bricked up, who cares? I'm going to go ahead and use Future Silence to try to grab the... We're trying to bait an Ash Blossom here, because I have a Gadget Trio in hand. They're going to go ahead and Ash Blossom my Future Silence, as predicted. It's just one of the many fun things you can do with this deck. I'm going to go ahead and use Gadget Trio's effect here to grab the Shining Sarcophagus. We're just going to go ahead and pop off, pop off, pop off. Use Shining Sarc here to grab a... So I know what you're thinking. Isn't that supposed to be Ties That Bind? Well, you see, I have ADHD, and sometimes I just stop paying attention when I'm playing card games. Especially digital ones where I can't take things back. And I grabbed the wrong card, thinking I just activated Ties That Bind, and I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and shamefully play the Dark Magician here. I'm going to go ahead and get in for some damage, because they did go first. Why not? I have an Ash Blossom. Kind of what I'm just kind of riding on with my hand here. My opponent is going to summon you. So not only did I botch horribly, I did it against a deck that I've already proven that I can very easily lose to. I let this slide. Go ahead and excavate their mirror to their hand. Summon the mirror. What are we going into? Phalanx? We're going into Little Knight, which does nothing from here. Runs over Gadget Trio? Oh, okay. I'll get a Stronghold. Deck thinning. Okay. Not sure why they did that instead of Phalanx, but sure, why not? From here, I'm just going to go ahead and summon these Silent Swordsmen. They're going to Ash Blossom my Shining Sarcophagus, because of course they frickin' do. It's okay, I'm not worried about this. I'm going to go ahead and activate Stronghold, summon it in attack mode. It is a 4000 attack beater. Let's go ahead and try to close this game out, and we avenge our loss to Salamangreats. Now, did we beat a bricked up Salamangreat? Yeah, sure, but I beat Salamangreat after losing to them, so I'm gonna take it. Next game. Alright, getting into our next game here, we are going... I think they chose to go second, which might mean we're playing Tenpai. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus here, go ahead and activate its effect. And they're going to Ghost Ogre? Cool. We don't care. I'm gonna grab Ties to Bind. Summon the Silent Swordsman. Ties to Bind. Grab Gadget Trio and the Silent Magician 0 because I have more Martial on hand. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Gadget Trio to grab a Turn Silence, so I have another negate. And I have some defense with more Martial on. Pretty solid board, I feel like. I'm gonna go ahead and level up both of our 0 monsters. I'm gonna go ahead and special summon the more Martial on, just get it out of the way so I don't gotta worry about it. We've got our protection, we've got our targeted negate. Fenrir. If there's ever a set of cards that makes me angry, it's definitely Kashtira. We're gonna negate Fenrir, because I don't know what they're up to, but they try to summon Burning Dragon here, so we are playing some sort of Kashtira nonsense. I'm gonna go ahead and use Turn Silence here to negate their summon, get that nonsense out of here. My opponent is gonna try to activate... I'm sorry? Cash Tenpai? Okay, well that's gonna get Silent Magician 0 negated, for sure. Get that nonsense out of here. They're going to summon the Chandra, and they're going to try and deal with the Sarcophagus, but they can't. More Martial On is going to be like, cool, you have to attack me. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the battle phase, because I have Turn Silence, and I can do that. My opponent is going to try and use their Sanguine Summoning here to do some more silly nonsense. Maybe summon something kind of silly, but I did turn off their battle phase, so they don't just get to OTK me here, which is pretty fantastic. So I'm going to use Genroku to grab a Fadra. I'm going to use Fadra to bring back Genroku. Use this to Synchro Summon, I believe, Biden. No, they're going into Kui Belt, which tries to destroy my Shining Sarcophagus, but again, they can't, because Shining Sarcophagus is immune to monster destruction. My opponent is going to try and target my Shining Sarcophagus with Fenrir. I'm going to go ahead and negate that with Silent Swordsman 0, which is perfect. As long as they don't Ash this, we should have this in the bag. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Gandora G from deck. You know what time it is. It's Gandora G time. Banish everything. Bye-bye. Bring out the Dark Magician. More Martial Arts effects going to activate, and so is the Gadget Trio. I'm going to go ahead and make it so the Dark Magician can't attack, so I don't believe I can finish my opponent from this position, but it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and set a Stronghold, go ahead and do some deck thinning, and my opponent sees more Martial Arts coming back, and they just decide to scoop it on up, and we have defeated Tenpai with Shining Sarcophagus. Alright, getting into our next game here, I am going first, which is always a great sign for us. I'm going to go ahead and activate Shining Sarcophagus because I've got literally nothing better to do with my hand. They're going to Ash Blossom my Shining Sarcophagus, which normally is pretty backbreaking. But thankfully I have Ties and a Silent Magician 0 in hand, so I can go ahead and get set up here. Plus I have a Turn Silence for an extra negate. We're going to use Ties to go ahead and grab more Martial Arts and Silent Swordsman 0. Set our Turn Silence and pass. We have a Spell Negate, a Target Negate, an Effect Negate, and a Search Negate, which is pretty darn powerful. Just setting them negates for days. My opponent is going to try and use Sword Soul Emergence. We're back against Sword Soul. I'm going to go ahead and use the Magician's effect. Negate that spell. No searching for you. They're going to go ahead and try to use Ashuna. Special summon it for the Monk of the Tenyi. And then they're going to summon the Long Yuan. And I'm going to Turn Silence this. Yeah, no crazy big synchro monster for you. No thank you. None of that nonsense, please. My opponent is then going to normal summon the Sword Soul Otaya to bring out their level 4 monster. They're going to Synchro Summon with Ashuna and the level 4 into... Oh, that's horrifying. I'm going to go ahead and just turn off the battle phase. Makes their Cheng Ying a little bit bigger, but I shouldn't be too worried about this. I'm going to go ahead and draw into the Super Poly, and to play it extra safe, when I activate Shining Sarcophagus, I'm going to go ahead and Super Poly their monster. I don't know what kind of nonsense they have, or at least I thought it was going to. Because again, reading the cards explains the card. Since I made a mistake, I have to super poly my Silent Swordsman 0 and my more Martial on because I'm dumb, but it's okay. It's fine. We're going to go ahead and use the Moon Dragon here that we summoned to make sure that they can't stop Gandora's ability. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and go into the SP Little Knight because I can. I'm going to go ahead and banish the Cheng Ying, just get him out of here. The main idea behind this is that because I've gone on a Moon Dragon because I had to, because, you know, I'm stupid, I might as well go into Little Knight and get a guaranteed banish because Cheng Ying has destruction protection, but he doesn't have banishing protection. From here, we're going to use Gandora's effect, and I'm going to summon the Gadget Trio from deck because I want some sort of negate so I can stop their nonsense. I try to go to battle phase. I don't know why I don't. I think for some reason I can't. It's fine, whatever. My opponent draws into nothing. We go ahead and draw into a Nibiru, which isn't that great in this position. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shining Sarcophagus, but they do have another Ash Blossom, which I'm going to turn silence this time. No. This one's on me. This one I'm having. You can't take this from me. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Dark Magician here. Use Gandora's effect. Banish my Gadget Trio. Summon the Archfiend's Advent. Use Gadget Trio to get a Stronghold. Summon the Dark Magician. And I think I have just enough damage here to go for game? No, I'm short. Well, that's not good. Surely my opponent isn't going to have any... Uh-oh. That's pretty bad. I'm going to go ahead and go into Stronghold. Hope I don't lose all my life points. They special summon with a Shuna. Using Mo Yang and their Shuna for a 5. Into Jianglong. Special summon a Yang Zing and draw a card. Oh. Okay. No Chi Xiao. I don't understand why, but we did that. I guess they want the card. I'm not sure what my opponent's doing here, but my opponent's going to go ahead and use the Long Yuan again. And there's just not much I can do this time around. But they did summon 5 monsters. So I can Nibiru. Which turns off all their nonsense. Does allow them to special summon a Yang Zing monster. And then they end their turn. And thankfully, my deck runs 2 copies of Gandora. I'm going to search up the other one. And from this position, it's a matter of Gandora. Activate Gandora's effect. Go down to 1,000 life points. Summon Dark Magician. And swing for game. Saved by Nibiru. Alright, folks. We are getting into our last game of the session. I will say it's not the most meta-defining one, but in my opinion, it is 2 interesting decks seeing what they can do against one another. I'm going to go ahead and be going first here. We're going to use the Shining Sarcophagus. They're going to maxi me here. We do not care. We do not care what my opponent can do with that Shining Sarcophagus, or that maxi. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Gadget Trio because I have the Ties that Bind in hand. I'm going to go ahead and use Gadget Trio. They're going to Infinite and Permanence me. I was going to grab Turn Silence. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and use Future Silence here. I think I kind of panic played this Future Silence. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and grab a Gadget Trio for some follow-up for next turn if we get that far. They're going to go ahead and negate my Gadget Trio. I'm going to use the Ties that Bind to grab a Silent Magician 0 and a more Marshmallow, which gives me a Spell Negate and a Monster Negate and some protection. And I do have a Nibiru just in case things get nasty. My opponent is going to Infinite Impermanence my Silent Magician 0. Okay. Sucks, but it happens. My opponent is going to activate Raigeki. This is why they negated the Silent Magician 0. There's nothing I can do about this. I attempted to negate. Might as well. They do Raigeki my board, which doesn't feel that bad, because I can't Gadget Trio to grab a Stronghold, and more Marshmallow procs, giving me the other more Marshmallow, and makes them take 1,000 for their Raigeki, thus balancing out the old staple a little bit harder. My opponent is then going to activate a Battalion of the Ice Barrier to grab a Mirror Maid. Excuse me, we're playing frickin' Ice Barriers? I have literally never seen this deck. I don't know what this deck does, so show me what you got. My opponent's going to activate their Revealer to discard a card to special summon something. I'm going to go ahead and use Infinite Impermanence here to stop their nonsense, or at least try to. My opponent did discard this Mirror Mage, though, which lets him grab Georgius of the Ice Barrier. Georgius, the Swordsman of the Ice Barrier, excuse me, which lets them special summon an Ice Barrier monster from the graveyard, which is their Mirror Mage. And from here, they bring out Lancia. This thing looks terrifying. Once per chain, if I special summon, they can special summon an Ice Barrier from hand, deck, extra, or grave, and then change the attack position of one of my monsters to defense. I do believe when I was reading this originally, I didn't read per chain, and I thought it was per turn, so I do kind of a silly play on my turn. But I notice they can't attack over more Marshmallow. It is fine in this position. I'm going to go ahead and draw into a third Gadget Trio. This might haunt me later, but who knows. I'm going to go ahead and activate Stronghold here, because I think, okay, I'm just going to activate Stronghold. They get their summon, and then they can't use this again. From here, I'm going to go ahead and grab Gandora G. Not reading Lancia here. Activate Gandora G, put him in attack mode. They get their summon off, put Gandora in defense. They go ahead and add some stuff from hand to deck, which kind of hurts, but it's whatever. I'm going to go ahead and use Gandora, get rid of everything here, just get it all out of here. Which does activate my more Marshmallow, and it does activate their Lancia, which does have a second effect, which I just didn't read, which summons... Oh, my PTSD. It's not the old Trishula, but it's still pretty bad. Okay. Doesn't do anything, it's just big, that's nice. So I'm looking at my board, and I'm thinking, what can I do here? How do I out this big scary monster? And I do something rare. I look into my extra deck. A place that we don't explore too often in Shining Sarcophagus because we don't really need it. We have some Charmers that might do some nonsense. We have some Super Poly targets. But there's one white woman we have that can jump scare the world. From this position, I summon Gadget Trio, grab a turn silence. We're not going to get to use it until next turn. Doesn't matter. White woman jump scare. Turning off their grave effects because it looks like this deck has a bunch of those. Get in for 3,000. Slam down a turn silence and hope for the best. I can't use turn silence with Goddess. It's fine. They're going to go ahead and do some special summoning nonsense. Underworld Goddess says, no, not from that graveyard, you won't. Hopefully this stops our opponent here dead in their tracks. They're going to go ahead and use the Freezing Chains to special summon a monster from Grave, which is another Revealer. They're going to Synchro, I believe, into another Lancia. No, into Chang Ying. Terrifying. They play around Nibiru, and I have just enough life points. And we draw Super Poly. And I decide to Super Poly their board, grab Moo Dragon of the Swamp, Shining Sarcophagus, adding Future Silence. I don't know why I did it this way, but I did. I'm gonna use Future Silence to grab Gandora G. I guess we're going the long way for deck thinning. Summon Gandora, banish everything, summon Archfiend's Advent, and with that, the game is over. And with those games out of the way, folks, our time with Shining Sarcophagus in the Duelist Cup comes to a close. I am more than happy with my results with Shining Sarcophagus in this more meta serious environment. My original goal was to hit Duelist ranking 10 in the Duelist Cup, and I did. And along the way, I picked up a record of 12-8, which is above a 50% win rate, roughly. Now I know for other people that might not be the most serious or impressive numbers, but for me, this is the most consistent deck that I have ever played. I don't get above a 50% win rate with any deck that I play. So the fact that a deck that I really enjoy did this in a serious environment makes me more than happy. And hey, I got to go up against some of the most powerful decks currently in Yu-Gi-Oh! I beat Tenpai 2 times. I lost to them 2 times too, but hey, beating them twice is impressive, especially when I can't really do that with other decks. I beat Centurion, I beat Sword Soul, which is a bit of a personal nemesis for me, and the most impressive loss that I had that I didn't get to record was a loss against Yubel and the loss against Salamangreat, which, honestly, those were from misplays. And even though I lost those games, I learned a lot. And I think the biggest takeaway from this is that I finally feel like I have a deck that I can seriously ladder climb with. And I do want to seriously come back to the ladder with Shining Sarcophagus at a later date and see how far I can get. Because I really like this deck, and I do think it has what it takes to climb. However, if that video's in the future, I might have burned out you folks at home on Shining Sarcophagus with a recent ladder climb video and now this. So the Shining Sarcophagus is going to take a break, but they will be back. So thank you for tuning in, folks. And just in case you're curious on what we're doing next time, we're bringing some peace to the ladder, if you know what I mean. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Now get the hell out of here.